If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Coming up on episode 406 of Wheel Bearings, we've got the Nissan Armada, the Lincoln Navigator, the BMW X5 plug-in hybrid, the Nissan Murano, an all-new Nissan Leaf finally after 15 years. GM is moving a bunch of vehicle production from Mexico to the U.S. The Corvette ZR1X is the car that should have been called Zora. BMW and AAA have dueling EV surveys. The Mustang GTD costs almost twice as much as a Corvette ZR1, and the Republican Party is still at war with EVs. All that and more coming up next. This is episode 406 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Abul-Salmon from Telemetry.
I am Nicole Wakeland from Top Speed.
And I'm Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And Nicole, you almost missed most of tonight's show because of Apple giving you the runaround trying to get your
the short version.
Apple Store shenanigans.
Battery replaced.
I need a new battery in my phone because it's old and I'm desperately trying to just not buy one right now. I just want to hold off to the next generation, which theoretically is September. And I should have just put Russ on it originally to pick it up, but I wasn't thinking because I left and then I couldn't check anything until I got home because I don't have a phone. So when I sat down and realized I was going to miss the show. But I called. I dialed my store and all I wanted was to change. Like, can you please put Russ Wakeland on this? No, it'll give you the main Apple number. It gives you the main Apple. You've dialed a store. I don't get the store. I get somebody. I don't know where.
You get it. They publish a number in New Hampshire that redirects directly to Cupertino.
I apparently
or some call centers.
And so
Tim Cook's house.
So I'll tell my one funny about it was at one point she's like, "Oh no, it doesn't send you to the store. It sends you to us." I'm like, "But I called the store." She's like, "Yeah, it just redirects." And she said, "Well, after literally I'm on the phone forever." She finally says, "Well, let me redirect you to the store so you can help them." And she says, "Do you have their number?" I'm like, "For your store?" And I said, "Let me Google that." And she still didn't get the sarcasm. All I had to do was look at my phone because I have already called it. And it's showing on my husband's phone that I used to call the store. But call was 20 minutes and 40 seconds. 20 minutes and 40 seconds to get myself to the store to just say, "Can you put Russ on that?" And they went, "Sure, Nicole, have a nice day." Click.
And how long did that take?
20 seconds, 25 seconds. I've forgotten. I just told you guys and I forgot.
So once you talk to the person, it took less than 30 seconds.
It was less than 30
but
seconds.
It took you a good 20 something seconds because they have an automated system that just redirects you around the world.
Now, the beauty of this is if they had replaced the people with an AI chatbot, the AI chatbot would have just said, "Yeah, sure, it's done. We got you covered," and it would have hung up on you, and that would have been the end of it, and nothing would have happened. And Russ would have gotten to the store and said, "Sorry, we can't let you have this phone. It's not, it's in
you
somebody
are
else's
not
name."
Russ Wakeland. You're trying to abscond with Nicole's ancient.
Well, no, it's not.
14.
You're not Nicole Wakeland.
Yes,
you're not Nicole. Sorry.
Yeah, with my ancient phone, who just needs to hold on like 3 more months. Come on, baby, hold together.
You can make it. You can make it.
Yeah. So I was also I'm like, wait, maybe I can add it on from afar. Oh my gosh, that's the most stressful part of my whole day.
If you had your phone, you could have used the app.
Aren't you clever?
All right. So, what have you been driving, Nicole?
You'll find this slightly familiar, Sam. I've been driving the 2025 Nissan Murano Platinum that you drove, I believe, just last week. You were in exactly the same vehicle.
Was it the same color?
That blue.
Yeah.
The I forgot the color of the blue. I want to say Murano blue because it's Murano, but it's not. It's not
No,
called that.
it's some other name. You keep talking and I'll look
It's
it
a
up.
really pretty blue. Yeah.
It's
So
it's pretty blue with a name that doesn't make any sense.
what Sam said last week. There we go. We're done. So 2025 Nissan Murano Platinum, which is the highest trim level of the lot of them. This is all new for 2025. They redesigned everything. Sort of Nissan Ariya EV vibes going on here. It has a more premium interior. The V6 is gone. You now have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that's plenty peppy. You've got some enhanced safety stuff, and on top trims, you're going to get standard all-wheel drive. So driving it's not. This isn't an especially aggressive vehicle. Like it's not something that's overpowered or especially heavily powered. It's 241
or even
horsepower,
adequately powered.
or even adequately powered. 241 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. Not a lot, non-speed automatic. I did take mine on an adventure this weekend, and we went up to the White Mountains, and I had most of the time I had 2 other people in the car with me. Sometimes I had a full crew. We had 5 people in the car.
Were you just picking up random hitchhikers?
Yeah,
You're like,
just random
hey,
hitchhikers.
you
Well,
wanna
because
go
we
to the
took
White
2
Mountain?
cars. We had 5 people, so we took 2 cars up there because you couldn't fit all the camping stuff and 5 people in the car at the same time. But once we got there, the few places we went to go hiking, we drove the car all together. And it was okay. I mean, on the highway, if you really accelerate, if you want to accelerate hard, it's like, well, give me just 1 second. It's okay.
I'll be right with you.
I'll be right with you
Can
on
you give
that
me the number
request.
of Nissan and I'll get the
Hold on.
the power upgrade downloaded?
Hold on.
Let me Google that for you.
Just a moment.
But I mean, but it's pleasant to drive. I mean, it was nice to drive. It's not underpowered in a way that it's disconcerting or you just feel like it's hard to merge into traffic. There's some cars where it's just so bad you think, oh, I've got plenty of time to merge, and suddenly you think, no, I don't. I cut that guy off. I didn't think I was cutting that guy off, but apparently I am. It's not like that. Actually, it's competent. It's just not especially aggressive. And if you're really looking for that kind of power, you're not going to find it. We will find, especially in that platinum trim, it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's a really nice interior. They did a good job making it look more upscale. There's, you got the 12.3-inch screen now. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The only thing, and this is funny, I know this is the way the technology is going. There's only USB-C charging ports. There's no USB-A, which is a good thing to realize before you go on a road trip where you're going to need to plug in your phone to charge. Because
you didn't bring the right cable.
I didn't have a USB-C cord with me. I just didn't bring. I was like, shoot. So
that needs to, like, for pretty much for most new cars now, that should be the default cord that you grab is a USB-C, because most new cars don't have A's anymore.
Most new cars don't have A's anymore, but what I always have been in the habit of grabbing forever is the A. So, and I had one that had it like an A with a little C dongle on it, and somewhere along the way, I went to plug it in once. I'm like, well, what happened to it? It's gone. So
the dongle fell off.
The dongle fell off because you still need an A on a plane. If you're getting on a plane, they have A's in the back, to plug in your phone to charge on a plane. You need an A. So that's the one I always have, and I did survive, but I thought, gosh, dang it, I need to go buy myself either a dual one or just get a little C cable. So yeah, that was my bad.
So your color was Aurora blue metallic, I think.
Aurora blue, yeah. It's sort of not really turquoise.
But it's sort of almost a teal.
It's like a teal, and it's a very pretty car. It's it's quite lovely.
Mine actually was not Aurora blue.
Mine was wasn't. White. That's
but it
not
had the twilight blue semi-aniline leather interior.
Ooh, see, mine was not twilight blue. So inside, it was just more normal inside, not super exciting.
Normal blue.
Normal, yeah. It was fancy blue outside, normal inside, and you get cool stuff. You get there's heated and ventilated seats, and you even get heated rear seats, which is super cool. And they're very comfortable. So I drove yesterday. I thought I was never going to stop driving. I drove probably 2.5 hours back from where we camp, and then immediately got home. And then everybody that was leaving last night took a normal shower, not at a campground, before they got in a plane. and I put them in the car and took them to the airport, which is an hour each direction. So I essentially drove like 2, 3, 4.5, 5 hours yesterday. Super comfy, like really
Oh,
comfortable.
that's good.
It'd be great on a road trip. Like, I think, okay,
Yeah,
this would
that's
be
so important. I don't think people realize. They're like, oh, you got to sit down in the car and
yeah.
drive it around. If you
it's
can't figure out how to get it to be comfortable, there's a good chance you'll never figure out how to get it to be
right,
comfortable.
And
and
these
it's
seats are generally
something.
pretty good.
What's that?
The Nissan seats are generally pretty good.
They do. They
Yeah.
have that zero gravity seats, which they designed with that, like based with NASA engineers or something to mimic zero gravity. Yeah, okay. Sam gave me a little bit of the engineering eye roll there, and I agree with him. But they are
A
comfortable.
lot of marketing hooey.
A lot
just-
of marketing. Yeah, there's a
they're-
lot of marketing hooey happening there, but they did design a really nice seat. I remember seeing a thing where they were talking, and I think it was for the Murano. They were talking about how important the way your hip is, like your hip angle is, like the angle of your feet to the floor to your body, and the angle that ends up at your hip once you put your leg out to push on the gas, kind of thing. And how much they worked to get the angle just so that no matter how you position things, you're going to have ergonomically, like, the weight is distributed properly. I think they did it. It feels very, very comfy. I like it. So overall, I like the Murano, and I do think it was a huge improvement from the last Murano, I would say. I think it's greatly improved from that. On the pricing front, you get 4 trims. SV comes in front wheel and all-wheel drive. Then there's SL, which is all-wheel drive, and the Platinum, which is all-wheel drive. Base trim is $40,470. The Platinum all-wheel drive is $49,600. So it's in the 40,000 range. It just avoids being 50. However, once you add on the destination fee, gentlemen, would you like to guess?
Ooh, destination 1,300.
I'm going to say 1395. I think
See,
that was it.
I have 1335 is what I've
Oh.
got. So
Okay,
Robbie
Robbie's
wins by
closer.
just a smidge, actually.
1335.
That's what it came up when I looked, and I'm
That's a
going to
very
go with it.
interesting
It's
number.
a weird number. So you're going to be the top trim. You're going to be just over $50,000. I don't think it's a $50,000 car.
What
That's
did you think of the climate
No.
controls?
the climate controls were okay. The thunk 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 as you push up and down on it. It was because you just touch. It's not. How do you just what is that as an engine? Like, it's there's no button.
It's a touch surface with haptic feedback.
And it's weird because it's not on the screen. It's on the trim, and you don't.
It's the same setup they have on the Aria.
It's weird. And here's the thing: it's weirdly loud, or it was in my car. Like you could hear you didn't just feel the little bump, 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 bump. It was like thunk, thunk, thunk. Like you could hear it. At one point, I was trying to change the temperature at the same time as Russ. I'm like, like it was weirdly loud, which is a strange complaint, but it was loud. And I did have one glitch while I was driving my Murano, and I have no explanation for it. Zero explanation. I got in the car and I go to play audio, and there's no audio. There's zero audio. I can't get the radio to play anything. Everything appears to be functioning as it should. Like there's radio station, I can play things. I can, stream my phone or not stream my phone. I've unplugged my phone and plugged in my phone. I try all the things. I can't get any.
Did you try Control Alt Delete?
Yeah, I did. If I could have. So I try everything. It doesn't want to work. I have navigation. I said like, hey Siri, whatever. Siri answers me. I can't get the audio from the music, anything and I've tried with my phone plugged in. I'm like, what the heck is happening? My friend gets in the car. She's like, you're doing something wrong. I'm like, feel free, show me. She spends like, she can't get it to work either. We go to dinner. We come back out. I have done nothing. We go to dinner. We come back out. I turn on the car audio blasting at like volume 9,000.
Yeah, I just needed a reset.
Hard
reset. Gotta get out of the car.
The technical term for that is there's a software bug.
There's a software bug. And I found it. Yeah. And I thought, I have no idea what's going on. But there was just one time, which would have sucked if I had to drive 8 hours that way or something, or a long drive. But it was just 20 minutes to go have dinner at one of my favorite Mexican restaurants. So not so bad. But overall, I like it. I mean, I think they did a good job making this, making it better. I don't know how competitive that pricing is. I feel like it's not outrageous, but I don't know. What did you think? I can't remember what you said last week. How did you feel about pricing?
There's too much stuff that is getting to that $50,000 price point. Which means that it's not cute. It's not more expensive than the competition, but the question is are any of these vehicles actually worth 50 grand?
Right?
That's the rub.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot for a car. I don't know what you do if you want a cheap car. And I know I think the Versa, cheapest car that you can get right now.
Buy a mid-1990s Nissan Altima.
Right? There's not,
Ultimate
you
up.
can't buy a super cheap car.
No.
And is the Versa still under, I think it was the Versa.
The Versa, if you can still find one with a manual transmission, starts at about 17, and the automatic starts at like a little under 19.
So it still keeps it under 20.
Yeah. I think that is like the last new vehicle you can buy in the US for under 20 grand.
Yeah, in the base trim. So I just pulled it up real quick. The Googling thing, it's amazing. A 2025 Versa S, $17,190, but the SV, $20,000. So you can only have the base trim. That's it. That's all you can get.
And that SV is actually probably kind of the sweet spot, right at 20 grand. You get enough features in that one that it's not that it's still fairly reasonably priced, and it's a decent little car.
It's weird. So the Nissan Versa, which I think we've all driven, I think the Nissan Versa does a better job of being an affordable car than the Murano does of trying to be the luxury car that it isn't quite.
Yeah.
I think this is not I know it's cheap. I know the interior isn't something amazing, but the interior is also not bad.
It's not bad. There's just still too much piano black.
But it's a $17,000 car, so it's not super.
Oh, sorry, you were saying the Versa. I was talking about the Murano. Yeah, I mean, on the Versa, for 17 grand, even 18, 19 grand.
Yeah,
I can forgive a lot of the hard
it
plastics.
feels okay. It feels okay with what it is, right? It feels you're like
solid.
There's the price that you have for what you're playing. You're like, okay, this is good. You look at the Murano, it's like, oh, it's solid. And then you look at the price, you're like, somehow it doesn't work as well for me in the Murano.
At 50 grand, that piano black is, and some of the other stuff is a bit much.
It's not quite right.
And frankly, the powertrain, for what it is, that variable compression turbo that Nissan has, that they launched in Infiniti models, and now they have it in several Nissan models. I've always found to be, when I first heard about it, I got
exciting
a technical explanation from one of the engineers. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really cool idea.
You're like, amazing.
And then when I drove it, I realized, boy, is this underwhelming.
And then and especially originally, like the miles per gallon difference was like 1 or 2 miles.
It made no difference. I remember.
Still not great.
What was I did the first drive for that Infiniti, and I've forgotten which Infiniti it was in. But I remember
it came out in the QX50 first.
Okay. Yeah. I remember doing that first drive because I remember them talking about the VC and all, like everyone's like, oh, like you said, what is this? Okay. All sorts of curiosity and this and that. And you drove and it was kind of like, okay. It was the weirdest thing. I've never heard so much buzz during a presentation and excitement. And you get in the car and you're like, is there another version of, did I get the right one? Is my okay. I do have the right one.
You didn't put the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder version in here, did you?
You're like, this is it? Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, that was weird. It was weird and a little sad. But they did give you a really cool, I think that was the one they gave you this thing that was that ultra suede thing. It was like a little folder thing. And I love ultra suede. It's cool.
I didn't go on that drive program, so I didn't.
I think it was that one. It was really cool. I still have it in a drawer somewhere that I was determined I would use, and I have not, but I am keeping it because I like it.
I have a lot of those things in drawers.
I try to get rid of those things. I try not to keep them. I give them to somebody or just see if anybody else in the program needs to.
It's
give
like
things away
it's
to
like
other journalists.
Water bottles and
oh goodness,
mugs and
baseball caps,
extra battery banks,
baseball caps. Yeah,
I don't need any more baseball caps. I did use one of my favorite all-time things they ever gave us was from Toyota. And I don't know, it was an Sienna thing. I don't remember. They gave us a portable soft-sided cooler bag that said Toyota, and I use that thing all the time when I go camping. I'm like, well, one of these hit. I used it this weekend, and they also gave you with the same thing barbecue set, like tongs, not super but there was a little flipper, a spatula, and I forget what else, but there was the giant fork, with the really pointy bits.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked and I was like, will TSA accept this if I don't have a check bag? Like the Toyota people look at me like, we're not entirely sure. Maybe we should
It's
ship
very
this to you,
weird
but-
that they don't think about that. When
There have been times on drive programs where they give us something that, then they realize, oh, you're not going to be able to carry this.
You can't carry it. And most of us have carry-ons.
If you want to take it, just let us know and we will ship it back to your home for you.
Yep. So they shipped that. And that one I still have. Like it became the barbecue little kit that we have. And we use that all the time. So more of those, fewer hats, fewer water bottles.
Fewer hats.
So, of course I do. I'm like advertising for Toyota now everywhere I go. So I guess they get their kickback for it, right? Like she's advertising everywhere.
I have a pretty nice one I got from Nissan.
Nissan?
Yeah, soft side cooler bag.
Was it the backpack one?
No, this one's just like a big lunchbox. Big soft side lunchbox.
I also have a Nissan.
I've got some backpack. I've got a couple of backpack ones.
Yeah, I have an insulated backpack one that also came with us this weekend from Nissan.
Maybe I might have the Nissan backpack one. I can't remember.
Those are, and they don't do those in. That's like a weird. I don't know I don't know. I have no idea how they decide. Like one time we're going to give you a water bottle, a charging power bank, and a hat, and the next time like soft-sided cooler. What? Okay, fine.
All right.
Well, we just had some really good olive oil that I brought back from. I think it was from the Lucid Gravity Drive from Los Olivos. We had that with dinner the other night to soak some really good sourdough baguette from Bird Dog Baking in there.
I'm hungry now, and I haven't had dinner yet.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia, and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right, Robbie, what did you drive?
I drove a car. No, wait, lie. I drove an SUV.
That was a lie too, because it's a sport activity vehicle.
Whatever. It's the 2025 BMW X5 xDrive 50e. It's the X5 plug-in hybrid with all-wheel drive. That's all those letters. That's all. It's like a code. If you know the code, I have a little decoder ring that I use for all these vehicles, and this one is about the X5 with all-wheel drive. That is also a plug-in hybrid. It gets 39 miles in EV range only. In my test, I hit about that. Yeah, BMW is really good about the Germans. Typically, are really good about hitting those numbers, and in some cases surpassing them. So good on you, I guess. 39 miles. I did something a while back. The Department of Transportation figured out that people on average drive 36 miles a day. So that's 3 extra miles that you can go to like fast food with or whatever, which are 39 miles of range per day. Of course, once you deplete all that, it gets 22 miles per gallon. It's like, cool. I'm doing awesome.
Decent size SUV.
It's a big SUV. It's got sport. It's sporty and whatnot. What's nice, you get in. It's like, hey, you got EV. Here's your EV mode. You can just drive around in that. It's got a hybrid mode. You can put it in, or it'll put itself in once you deplete the battery, and then of course it has sport mode, which is just like it's got a 3-liter
Wait a minute.
inline.
How's that go again? What's the sport mode? Excellent.
And it's got a 3-liter the turbo inline 6. The BMW inline 6. Can't go wrong with the BMW inline 6. 8-speed automatic transmission. So you got that nice. You got that going for you. No CVT here. That all said, I really like BMW's EVs. I think they're really well engineered. They drive really nice. They're very pretty, whatever, or not pretty. That's up to you when it comes to like the iX. And BMW's gas vehicles, great. Vroom. Inline 6. Way to go. Shove it in everything. Make the world a better place. Shove in more inline 6. For some reason with this vehicle, and this is only at like low speeds, like 20 miles an hour, 15 to 20 miles an hour, this vehicle is not quite sure. It's a little herky-jerky going between the motor, and this is when the battery's been depleted, so now you're in hybrid mode, and it's trying to figure out what to do because BMWs don't live at 20 miles an hour apparently, going through residential areas. You're just like cruising kind of slow. You're stopping. It's like, oh, you're going. It's kind of, okay, we're going. It's electric. No, it's gas. Oh, now we're like, no, it's gas. Yeah, that was kind of weird. Freeway driving, no problem. Anything above like 20 miles an hour, no problem. Whether, again, all EV mode, no problem. Sport mode, no problem. Hybrid mode at very low speeds, a few little weird quirks. Just trying to get those things. I guess they're trying to get those things worked out. Typically, what I've noticed with BMWs, if there's something weird with the car, like they usually fix it like within 6 to 8 months. Like if I've noticed it, that means other people have noticed it. And one of those is adaptive. They have adaptive cruise control, but they also have adaptive regenerative braking. Which the first time I drove it in the car, this is not good at all. I did not like it. And what it does is, like adaptive cruise control, it judges, how far you are from the vehicle in front of you. And when you lift, it'll apply the brake. It'll apply, not reapply. It'll apply,
brakes.
regenerative
deceleration.
braking. Yeah, it'll decelerate. It applies regenerative braking. And so it figures out, I need to slow down. You're on the freeway. There's a car in front of you. While we're doing that, let's do some regenerative braking. So it does that for you, which is great. First time on an EV, I was like, nope, this is not good. This was on the i4 first drive in Germany. Everything I liked everything about the car except that. 6 months later, I drove that vehicle again. I don't know what they did to it. They tweaked it. They tuned it. I don't know what. They made it much better. Works great on this vehicle as well. It can be a little weird for people who are used to a gas car having a plug-in hybrid with this added to it, because this is definitely not something that's going to be on the regular X5. And so I was a little surprised they had added it, to be honest. I didn't realize it was there. First time I used it, I'm like, oh, hey, that thing I hated but I like now is working. It's here. So it works really well. The seats, I am comfortable in those M2 with that thing that comes up between your legs, the crotch protector. I don't know what that is. Those sports seats they have in the M class. Yeah, the carbon seats. I am comfortable in those seats. I've sat in other X5s, been plenty comfortable. iX, for some reason, the seats in this X5, I could not get comfortable. It just felt weird. No matter what I did, 17,000 ways you can adjust the seat, I could never get it to where I felt comfortable. Maybe my spine is out of whack between the last time I drove the X5 and now. And again, we always say, sit in the car, drive it around, especially if you plan on driving this a lot. Make sure you can get that seat comfortable, because if you can't, you're going to have a bad time the first time you do a road trip. Or if you're one of those super commuters that goes, sits in the car for 2 hours every day to drive 10 miles, you're not going to have a good time.
If you're sitting in a car for 2 hours every day to drive 10 miles, you should be riding an e-bike.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you probably live in Santa Monica. Santa Monica is notoriously difficult to get into during rush hour. I have a long story about that I won't borrow.
So it's the South Bay.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Driving assistant. I had the driving assistant stuff. Woohoo. Uh, at some points, the same thing we've talked about again and again. I don't know what. It had the sport package with what is it? Anthracite headliner.
You're gonna say anthrax.
I didn't notice it. I didn't realize it was even a thing until I just read it. M steering wheel. Sure, why not? Roof rails and high gloss. Okay, roof rails are great. I don't think I need it in a high gloss shadow. Shadow line exterior trim, if you say so. And then 21 inch wheels. This was $2,750. No, there you go. How's that? Parking assistance package. We all know no one uses those anymore. But you do get the parking view, that 3D view. That is
genuinely helpful.
That is genuinely helpful. Active parking, like assistance, that no one uses that anymore. But the 360 degree view that looks like you have a drone over your car, though, that's actually quite helpful, especially when if you're parallel parking, you're not used to parallel parking. If you are used to parallel parking, it's like you just like, oh man, you don't even need a second try. So that is pretty cool. Overall, no, it's a BMW. It was quick. It handled really well. Seats, again, I don't know why I was not comfortable in the seat. It was very weird. I was very sad. Plugged it in. It's CC. Charge it overnight. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They still have the turn up the volume gesture control.
Remember that? Really?
They still have it. And sometimes you'll move your hand in the cockpit and something will happen to the media. They still have it. So if for folks who aren't aware, if you put your hand right about where the infotainment screen is and you twist it your finger, your pointy finger, your index finger counterclockwise or clockwise, it'll turn up or turn down the volume of your music. There's also an actual knob. So,
which is like 2 inches away from your finger when you're doing that gesture.
There's an actual, all by itself. There's an actual volume knob, which is outstanding.
And gives you
loud,
much more
quiet,
precision.
loud, quiet, loud, quiet, loud, quiet. Or you can do the thing with your finger. The price for this vehicle with all the bells and whistles that they dropped off at my house, $90,025.
Gosh.
It starts at $73,100. So if you want the X-Drive, PHEV, or I'm sorry, the X5 X-Drive 50E, the PHEV, you can get it for probably like $75,000, as long as you don't want these weird things like driving. You don't need driving assistance. M Sport package. There's an executive package. That's where the gesture controls come in.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
you can get this car and still be very happy with the features that come with it for less than $90,000. Or you can get all the fancy bits, because that's what they send us, because they want us to try out all the features. If you want to try all the features
and then complain about them.
Yeah, you have to give them the best car, and then you complain about it. It did have front and rear. It had front ventilated seats, which is just the best.
Those are great.
I love ventilated seats.
So if you want to feel a little bit better about that 22 miles per gallon you got with that lovely BMW 3-liter inline six, the Murano is rated at 21 with its inadequate variable compression turbo 4-cylinder.
Oh, with a 4-cylinder, man.
Yeah. So you get better fuel economy with the X5.
That just goes to BMW's engineering. They're the Honda of Japan, of Germany. Honda loves to engineer things until they're like magic, and I think that's what BMW does. They do some really good things with their motors, and even their EV motors are pretty spectacular. So, I mean, 3-liter, 22 miles per gallon. It's a big.
And this is not a lightweight vehicle.
It is not. It is a big. Again, SUV. It's going to run you down, and you're going to feel pretty magical in it. You still have the BMW, even the handling. It's still a big SUV, so it's not it's not an M2, but what they're doing over there is pretty spectacular. Except for that weird 15 to 20 miles an hour. I don't know what's going on. the pairing. Maybe I also live on a hill, so maybe that doesn't help as well. I noticed I live on a hill, and then next, if I turn right at the end of it's like a really steep hill, but if I turn left, it's kind of a gradual grade. So when I come down, like some like braking systems get a little like freaked out. I don't know.
It is. I mean, having worked on that, during the tail end of my engineering career, it's actually really hard to blend regenerative braking and friction braking to do that smoothly. When you got that transition point between the two, making that work consistently is really tough.
Because sometimes you're braking really easy and it's on a nice flat surface, but sometimes you're braking really easy, but you're also on a hill, and sometimes you're braking hard, and or you're one of those people who brakes easy and then goes hard. You have to take all that into account, plus what the asphalt is. It wet? Is it dry? Is it a little slick? Is it snowy? Is it all those things have to come into, and I don't know how they do it. Magic wizards? Are there wizards? Sam, you work there.
There are, yes. That's one of the reasons why these vehicles are so heavy, because there's actually a wizard,
tiny
back,
wizard,
in the back that is controlling all this stuff. And that wizard, he needs a little bit of space. Needs some food and other supplies and drinks.
Little house.
Yeah,
it's got a little wet bar in his little
apartment. Yeah, so that adds to the weight of the vehicle.
We're breaking this wide open. What's happening within the secret the auto industry doesn't want you to know. Every car with regenerative braking has a little wizard living inside.
Tiny little wizard.
They're all named Tom for some reason.
Anything else on the X5?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. What do you think was the destination charge?
I'm gonna go with $11.95.
Oh, I was gonna go higher. I'm gonna go one lower. I'm gonna go $11.94.
$11.75.
Oh,
it worked.
You won. It took a little bit, because I had to do the math, and then I said it, and then Nicole had to do
wait
the
a
math.
minute. Yeah, my delayed reaction. Math. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm hungry. My brain's not functioning.
Meanwhile, Sam's like on the ball. He's like, oh, darn.
He's like, dang, I lost.
The rest of us are like, Nicole won. You're a winner.
Woohoo!
One free wizard, Tom, for you.
Yay.
all right. Well,
Sam's like,
you know what? Maybe we don't want Robbie driving cars. I mean, think about that. We're giving him grief about cars. He's talking about wizards. He's really taking everything. What do I have for next week? Oh, next week will be fun.
I had two big giant SUVs in my driveway last week because I had one scheduled, and then Lincoln sent over a new Navigator because they wanted me to try out their latest as of last week version of Blue Cruise, which was version 1.4, which I had some issues with when we did the first drive out in California, with it disengaging for inexplicable reasons on the highway.
Just cause.
And this is not a new phenomenon with Blue Cruise for me. And around the area where I live here, there's a couple of spots along I-94 to my east and to my west where there's a couple of curves where Blue Cruise has always disengaged for me on those curves, where other systems like Super Cruise and even Nissan's ProPilot version 2, they work fine. But Blue Cruise has always had an issue with those two curves. And one of them is on the west side of Ann Arbor, around near Jackson Road, where there's a relatively sharp curve there. And so I took the Navigator, and the one they sent me was the 2025 Navigator Reserve with the Jet Appearance package. And it was in this incredibly boring gray mist metallic clear coat.
Did you go to DTW to pick someone up?
I did not.
From the airport.
No, because it wasn't all black, so they wouldn't have
been able to see it.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have worked. Yeah,
that's right. But this was in the gray mist metallic clear coat, which is a light gray color, it's fine, but it's boring. Frankly, all the colors on the Navigator now are kind of boring. There, although actually no, on the black label package, there is one that's sort of a pale copper color, which is really nice, but all the other colors are boring. Anyway, the Navigator is a big SUV, a really big SUV. And the jet appearance package gives you a black grille and black wheels and black painted pillars and a lot of black trim around the vehicle. One of the new things for 25, besides the new front fascia, it's got the same split tailgate that's on the new the 25 Ford Expedition, which if you're doing tailgate parties and stuff like that, or just at the beach and getting ready, it gives you a little place to sit in the back and load stuff up. But the main reason I was driving it, like I said, was to try out some things with Blue Cruise. And for the first time, I took the Navigator out there, and it went through those places where I've had problems with Blue Cruise before just fine. It stayed engaged. Didn't tell me to put my hands back on the wheel.
They fixed 2 curves.
They fixed 2. Well, they fixed some other areas too, but those were the 2 most prominent ones where I've had problems. So Blue Cruise is definitely better. It's absolutely better than it was, which is a good thing. Can't complain about that. And there's even another version 1.5 that's coming out shortly on I think on the Mach-E and the Lightning. But that's not on here yet. It's still version 1.4 that's on here. So they've made Blue Cruise better.
Yay!
Sadly, there's still all the other things that I complained about after we did the first drive, like having the vent controls in that little touchscreen in the center stack. And that touchscreen in the center stack being mounted down kind of low and kind of vertical.
Yeah.
And if you actually need to adjust anything on there, it's just a pain in the neck to use.
But they have this giant screen, half of which you won't actually use while driving.
Yeah, because you can put 3 widgets up there that are you can select from 6 different bits of information, none of which are especially useful. So
because you can see the time, like in other places.
Yeah, there's like 4 different places where you can see the time.
Yeah,
you can see a big clock over on the left, or you can see the time directly in front of you, or if you look down away from the road, you can see it on the center touchscreen in like 2 different places on the center touchscreen.
It's very like the photo they have about the enhanced ambient lighting. It's shot from above, and you can't see the top of the touchscreen because of the trim.
Yeah.
The deep sigh.
I just feel like there's a lot of time. This is like I don't remember the Cherokee, the one where the buttons are above the infotainment screen, and you can't see what the buttons are. There's like 4 buttons above it, and so you just like, I don't know what this does. Push it and hope for the best. I'm not sure. Like, and when I see that, I'm just like.
I will say that the interior materials in the Navigator are really nice. I didn't use the spa mode or whatever it is they call it. Or the
rejuvenate.
The rejuvenate, yeah, the rejuvenate mode. I tried that out before and it was fine, but when I get home and pull into the driveway, if I want to rejuvenate, I'll just go jump in the hot tub.
This is for the drivers who are waiting at the cell phone lot or the nearby parking lot for your plane to land that has now been delayed 45 minutes.
That's true. Yes.
This is for those.
It is very good for them.
And I think for them, cool.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to go into the screen to adjust the screens, less cool.
Less cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the second row seats have heating and cooling, heating and ventilation and I think massage on there too. So the seats are fairly comfy. The ones that were in the the one I was driving, had the 300-way adjustments, or it seems that way. But again, only a few of those adjustments are actually with physical controls on the side of the seat. The rest you have to go into that touchscreen to adjust it. And if you want to adjust certain things, or even just turn on the massage function, you have to go into that touchscreen, which again is mounted quite low relative to everything else, and it's quite vertical, and it's just not very convenient to use.
Can you yell at the car to tell it to turn it on?
No.
You can't?
Not for the massage. You can change things like you can change the temperature, but you can't change where the air is blowing by voice. That you have to go in the touchscreen. So
I was yelling at that G-Wagon nonstop about the massage seats. I'm all, do this, do that. People will get in the car. I'm all, turn on the passenger side. And then people are like, oh gosh, what was it? Oh.
So that's the Navigator. I like it less than I liked the previous generation Navigator.
The previous generation was really good.
Interesting.
Yeah. That was a good car.
Yeah.
Especially for what it is.
Yeah. I was less enamored with this one, and the fuel economy was pretty mediocre. Got like 16 miles per gallon.
Yeah, but it's also like the size of like my first apartment. So
yeah, maybe bigger.
It is pretty big.
It is large.
Big.
Grand total came to $106,740. Guesses on the destination?
Ooh, 1,700.
1699.
$2,195.
Oh my god!
Sorry, I swore. I thought he might get it twice.
Oh my! No, that was worth the swear. Right
Sorry. Anyone whose kids just heard me swear. Sorry. Oh, I thought it would work twice. I had such high hopes.
That was a good gambit, though. I was like, oh, Nicole's bested me.
Yeah, almost $2,200 for delivery.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was like $500.
Oh my god, you're still $500 off, but you won.
Yeah.
I'm still the price of what it costs to replace the engine from my 90 Honda Civic off.
Yeah.
I could buy an engine for $450.
Oof.
Wow.
Yeah. It wasn't new. It was like a used engine, but still.
So the other big honking SUV that was in my driveway, like the Navigator, was powered by a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. This one had 425 horsepower. I think the Navigator was like 440. But they're roughly the same. 9-speed automatic transmission. It was the 2025 Nissan Armada Pro 4X with intelligent four-wheel drive.
Ooh, it's the Pro.
Yeah.
So both of these are based on like boats.
Yeah.
They're just boat cars. I mean, they're not even like pretending.
Boats.
Remember when we make fun of cars for being boats? Now they're just like, you know what? It's a boat. They don't need. They're not hiding it. They're reclaiming boat status.
Yeah. So globally, this vehicle is sold as the Nissan Patrol, and the Patrol, is kind of like the Toyota Land Cruiser. It has a global reputation as being a bulletproof go anywhere SUV. And the Pro 4X is the most go anywhere-ish version of the Armada that is sold here. And it's pretty good. And you know what? It has these two bright orange things on the front, under the front bumper, that unlike the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek, it's not just orange accents painted on the bumper cover. It's actual recovery hooks.
Oh, for reals?
Yeah,
for
messing around real with recovery hooks
with the Armada Pro 4X.
Yeah. So the Armada, is it's a big 3-row body on frame SUV. It's a Nissan, so that means it's got a whole bunch of piano black plastic on the dashboard. It's got a couple of big 12.3 inch displays. Not 12.3 inch, 14.3 inch displays. One for the instrument cluster in front of the driver, and the other one for the infotainment screen. It's got cameras all around. You can press and you can see It basically lets you look, because you're so high up and the hood is long enough that you can't actually see what's up in front of you if you're going off road. So the cameras basically let you see, transparent hood, shows you where the wheels are, and which direction they're pointing and what's underneath you, so you can kind of maneuver around the obstacles on a trail, which is pretty nice. I didn't do any off-roading with this thing, but I've seen the guys at TFL did some off-roading with the Armada, and it did well for a big SUV. It's got big all-terrain tires on it. It has air spring suspension, so it can lift up or drop down. So when you're driving on the highway, it drops down a little bit for better aerodynamics. And when you're off-road, it lifts itself up, to give you a little more ground clearance. It has nice, comfy, zero gravity seats like the Murano. Everything about it is generally pretty good. I did notice
so many buttons.
There's a lot of buttons.
Yeah.
A lot of buttons.
It's surrounded by piano black, but you know what? I'd rather have the buttons.
Yeah,
and piano
absolutely.
black. If that means I get buttons, I have to live with piano black. So be it.
So you got buttons and knobs for the climate control, for the heated seats, for the temperature, for all your different drive modes, to go over rocks and snow and sand and everything else, and to turn on the cameras or raise the ride height or lower the ride height. All these things, have physical controls, which is great. I'm not crazy about the 4 push buttons for the transmission selector, because they're all pretty much the same. You got to look at it. I keep wanting to hit the wrong one.
There's a teeny little nib on drive, and then a big one on reverse.
Yeah,
teeny tiny.
Like on your keyboard, at the J and the F. There's a little, so you know where you are on your keyboard. It's just like that on the D, but on reverse, there's a giant hump.
There is like the Armada and the Murano and a lot of the other newer Nissan vehicles now have an Android Automotive based infotainment system. That's got Google services in there, which is nice. You can download apps from the Google Play Store. And one of the things I do whenever I get one of these is I sign in and I download Pocket Casts, which is the app that I use for listening to podcasts. And on everything but the Nissan vehicles that I've driven recently, the Murano and this Armada, in Pocket Casts, I can go in and log into my Pocket Cast account, and it downloads all the podcasts I've been listening to, and it syncs, with my account. So if I'm listening to something on my phone and I get in the car, then it refreshes and syncs up to where I was in whatever podcast I was listening to in the car. And then when I get out, it resyncs that back so my phone can pick up from the same spot. In the Armada and the Murano, for some reason, in the interface, because one of the things the automakers can do when they use Android Automotive with Google services is they can create their own skins for it. So everybody's got their own unique interface, same apps, but get your own unique interface for the media players, things like that. And it appears for some reason that on the media players, for Pocket Cast, they neglected to put any kind of link to the setup screen where you can log into your Pocket Cast account. And there's nowhere to actually select the shows you want to listen to.
Oops.
And I,
is it just that app?
Just that app.
Is that the only app you really use when you sign in?
Just that app, because I tried with YouTube Music, and that worked fine, and other stuff.
Is it
fine.
You think it's a versioning issue, like Android Automotive, like that version, like the app that runs on that version, there's a weird glitch?
Maybe. But I had the Navigator at the same time, which also has the same operating system and had the same app running on it. It was fine. I could go in, and I could click the settings icon on there, the little gear icon, to take me to settings and log into my Pocket Cast account. That just did not exist in either of the Nissans.
There must be a versioning issue. Like Nissan is
maybe.
like running like a 0.0001 below what other people are running, and so the Podcast app for that version has a glitch. That's the only thing.
That's possible.
Because it has to be at the app
I shot
level.
a little video of it and sent it to Steve Parrott at Nissan. And said, hey,
they
you
were
should send it to Podcast too.
He was going to investigate and look into it, but I haven't heard back yet on that. So I don't know if they've figured out the problem. Because what I did was I shot the video. I went in the Navigator and showed this is how it works in the Navigator and every other brand of vehicle I've driven that has this system in there. And here's how it works in the Murano and the Armada.
You should send it to Podcast as well.
I may do that. I'll do that.
Yeah. Get everyone in on it.
Yeah.
Bring the whole gang in on this.
Get the whole gang on the thing.
Right.
So the Armada is rated at 16 miles per gallon combined because it's a big, heavy, full-size off-road SUV. And it got about 17 during my time driving it.
Well,
so it did a little better, did about 1 miles per gallon better than the Navigator, which was, still pretty mediocre for both of them. The third row seat, the Navigator is a little bit longer than the Armada. So the third row seat in the Navigator was a little roomier, a little more headroom, a little more leg room. And this was not even the long wheelbase Navigator. There's two lengths of the Navigator, just like there is with like a Suburban or Escalade. But the Armada third row seat is a little bit tighter. I can still sit in there, but it is definitely a little bit tighter than the Navigator or some of the other 3-row SUVs. Although it is, it's definitely better than the Toyota Sequoia, because the Sequoia, for this generation went back to a solid rear axle, whereas the Armada has an independent rear suspension, and so it's definitely got more. It's got a flatter floor in the back, so definitely more third row space. Not a huge amount of cargo space behind the third row, but if you need to, excuse me, if you put down the second and third row seats, I found that it's almost long enough to carry an 8-foot long cow panel. It was about 6 inches shy, so I did have to use it.
So close.
Had to go to Tractor Supply to get a couple of cow panels to use as trellises for our beans in the garden.
And that's what we use it for too.
Yeah,
we use it for trellises for vines.
Yeah, because they're nice and stiff. Just drive a couple of stakes into the ground, zip tie it to that, and works great. So I went and got those, and I folded everything down. The cow panels are like 50 inches wide and 8 feet long, and it was like hanging over the hinge by about 3 or 4 inches. So you can almost fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood into the back of the Armada.
Nice.
Yeah. So it is pretty big. And other than that, it's a pretty, if you need a big 3-row SUV, it's not a bad choice. It's not
very expensive. I mean, compared to the Lincoln Navigator.
Yeah.
It's a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
But the Lincoln Navigator is like fancy schmancy.
Yeah. Well, this one was the Pro 4X. So it was $80,980. You want to guess on the destination?
I accidentally saw it just now, like a few seconds ago while I was looking through features. So I'm just gonna let Nicole pick and see if she won or not.
To see if I get it.
Yeah.
$12.95.
See how close you can get.
$12.95.
Oh man.
$2,010.
Oh Jesus. Well, I started off strong, but I'm not finishing so strong. That is what it is.
One thing
so
I did like.
I was looking through features like at the price differences, and I accidentally scrolled down. It's all destination. I'm like, oh.
Wow.
One thing I really did like about this Armada, the paint was this deep ocean blue. It was this dark blue. It's really attractive. Far more attractive than that light gray on the Navigator.
Whatever weird colors they have.
And then you get this cool little orange accent on the D-pillar. That says has Armada embossed into it or debossed.
That is a nice blue.
Yeah. So that is the 2025 Nissan Armada. If you need a big 3-row SUV, it's not a bad choice.
Cute.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's move on to some other stuff. Yes. Let's stick with Nissan.
Yeah.
By the time this is published, the news will be out about the 2026 Nissan Leaf.
Woohoo!
And so, this is the first time since it launched that the Leaf has actually been really fundamentally redesigned. Because when they did the second generation, whatever it was, 2017 or so, all they did was partially reskin it and change the dashboard.
Slightly, it was like a little tweak.
Yeah. It still had the same doors, the same glass, and everything, but this they've completely redone it. It started from scratch, and it's now a crossover, crossover coupe. And what do you think? Have you've seen it, Nicole? Haven't you? Oh, you have not seen it?
I have not seen it.
Okay. Well, hold on a second, and I will.
I went all to Japan to see it.
Yeah.
You went all the way to Japan. Aren't you the fanciest?
I am. I got the ramen and candy, and I don't know, some other things.
Just ramen and candy. How was Japan? Ramen, candy was good.
Ramen, candy, quality public transportation, trains. Oh, I got to drive the Nissan Sakura while I was there as well.
Oh, that's cool.
The little electric car. Yeah.
Was that fun?
It was fun. I got to drive around Japan, which I kept getting off on the wrong exit. And apparently they track the cars while you're driving them, because
they're like, hey Robbie, you made a wrong turn.
I picked it up from one of the from a place where they hand it out to people, and they were like, when I got back, they're like, you took the wrong turn a couple times. I'm like, yeah, I did. so right, let Nicole look at the car.
So back in October of 2023, when we went to the Japan Mobility Show with Nissan, they actually took us. They showed us a prototype back then, and it has not changed. I mean, it's basically a mini Aria. Why? Let's see. What do I have to click here to give you approval?
I know, right? I'm like,
wait, you can't look at things unless she has approval?
I probably got this.
Google Drive is.
To be honest, Google Drive can be a little funky with things when you share it.
Maybe I have a picture. No, I didn't take a picture. Oh wait, I do have a picture. I'll find one on my phone. Hold on, everybody.
Okay. You can't text it to me. I have no phone.
I can just show you.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Wait, is anybody watching this? Are we breaking an embargo?
No, because it's not going to be published until afterwards.
Yeah. What is going on? Maybe I didn't. You know what? I don't think I took pictures with my phone. Wait, did I go to LA? Let's hold on here.
Let's see.
Because I went to LA to look at it again. Because that's my way.
So I literally missed. I'm sure I probably got an email with this, and that's terrible that I missed it.
Oh, I got a lot of videos of the car. Let's see. This is a good one. Ooh, look at the back. Wait.
It sounds like it's good.
Okay.
Wait,
so now you should have an email now with a link to the Google Drive.
Okay, we're getting there, guys. It'll just take. Oh wait, let's see.
The photos I have
hold on.
are the
teal. Folder shared with you. Folder shared.
So basically, this is like a 3/4 scale Aria. So if you like the Aria, you'll probably like this.
I like it. It looks better in person than it does on the photos.
Yeah, but I like it.
It's very weird. I like the photos, but it looks better in person.
Does it have the funky door thing that's like higher up? Is the handle high up on the rear? Is there a door?
Yeah, it's on the C pillar.
It didn't used to be. Was it that way before?
No, it was not. It just had standard door handles before.
That's what I thought. Oh,
so now you
got
pop-out door handles on the front doors. You get the hidden door handles in the back edge of the rear glass, the C pillar, and then the interior is also kind of vaguely Aria like. And interestingly, they did not make it bigger. It's actually like a couple inches shorter than the current generation Leaf, but it's got about the same amount of interior room. One of the interesting design details, if you look at the taillights, they have this theme that they call 2-3, which so if you look at the taillights, you'll see there's two horizontal rectangles and 3 vertical.
They look like smartphones, the vertical ones. Or maybe it's just because I'm missing
Yeah,
my
I mean,
phone.
they're kind of shaped like smartphones. But, the horizontal ones kind of look like the lights on the Nissan Z.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why they did this theme is apparent. I guess in Japanese, 2, 3 is pronounced as Ni-san. So it's got this 2-3 theme.
Oh my gosh, it is. Because was it Ichi
Ni san.
San si? I used to know how to count to 10 in Japanese. Ichi san si.
So
yeah, you're right.
you'll find that same
Wow.
iconography in several places around the vehicle. That
Okay,
2-3.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's not where. What is Nissan's name has nothing to do with that, though, does it? Is
No.
that like where? Okay.
No.
But it works out really
it just
well.
happened to,
Okay.
they found some iconography that happened to align with the brand name.
That's really cool.
So it's a pretty cool little crossover. I think it's a nice size. It no longer has an air-cooled battery. So that should
the
be much
batteries will
better.
last.
Yeah. So liquid cooled battery from LG now. And it's 54 kilowatt hours for the 52 for the base model, and about 75 for the
Everything else.
all but the base model. Yeah.
I really like how this looks.
Yeah.
Do you guys like it, or do you hate it? Is it just me?
I like it.
Yeah.
It's
I like it. Oh my gosh, it looks so. My gosh, it's such a departure from the old one.
Yeah.
It looks
the
so
old,
much.
So
Wow.
the old one was so boring. Like
Yeah, this
driving
is
it,
actually
everything about the
cute.
old one was boring. It wasn't a bad car. It was just so boring. Like
it was such a solid little car, but it was had zero personality.
Yeah,
so
like you got out of it and you forgot that you drove it. Like I had to do
Right?
everything in the car in order to
Where's the
remember.
car I was driving?
and
Yeah,
no
exactly.
personality. This
Yeah.
is
How did I get
actually
here?
cute.
This
I
is
like this.
And so, yeah.
The base model with the small battery, 174 horsepower, 214 with the big battery, because you got a little more energy out of that one. Range they haven't said what the range is going to be for the base model, but it'll probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 210, 220 miles. But the other one's the S Plus trim, 303 miles of range. 288 for the SV Plus and 259 for the Platinum Plus, which have bigger wheels and tires, which have more drag. And then what was the other thing? If you look at the pictures, you'll see that there's a charge port on both front fenders.
No way.
So,
Is there really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they did something a little unusual. The charge port on the driver's side front fender, on the left front fender, you open that up, that has the J1772 port in there. So like the first 2 generations of Leaf both had 2 charge ports, but they were under a cover on the front of the car.
On the front, yeah.
And you had a 1772 and a Chatamo for DC charging. But it can only charge at 50 kilowatts. Now you have a 1772 on the driver's side, and on the passenger side, there's a NAX port, a J3400 port. But it's still AC and DC. The NAX charging port does not support AC charging. It only supports
just
DC charging.
DC charging.
And I talked to Nissan today about it, and he explained, Kevin Rafferty explained that the decision to incorporate the NAX port was kind of late in the program, and most stuff was already frozen, and they didn't have time to do the hookup from the NAX port to the AC onboard charger and get that all validated. So that right now it's only DC. They do plan to update that in subsequent model years, or at some point along the way. They will change that hardware so that it can do both AC and DC from the NAX port. But you can charge AC from the J1772 port with a NAX charger with an adapter. So if you have a NAX to J1772 adapter, you can plug that in and do charging from that, AC charging from that. But you can only do DC from the NAX port, and then you can get CCS to NAX adapters, so you can charge it for or you can charge it from a Tesla charger or anything like that. Only 150 kilowatt charging because it's a 400 volt system, but that's a lot better than 50 kilowatts.
Yeah, the AC will do up to 7.2, which is sort of middle of the road. It's not the best.
Better than 6.6, which is what it is before.
Which again, I mean, it's overnight charging, so it's not really. Yeah, it's not it's not a fleet vehicle. What's interesting is with the AC, you can do vehicle, you can do VDL, you can do vehicle to load. You get a little adapter, like the Hyundai has the adapter. You can plug it into the CCS port. You can do that on the 1772 side. You can't. It doesn't have VTL or VTH with the NACS. I asked them about that, and then everyone like huddled, and then they were like, I think they were like, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So they were just like, there's a
bunch of stuff that because of that late decision to incorporate the NACS port that they're gonna fix as running changes as they go along.
Yeah. What is interesting is that it'll support plug and play with Tesla superchargers, and their Nissan app. You should be able to use it on a bunch of different charging networks. So you only have to use one app to pay for everything. So you don't have to have like Electrify America app, ChargePoint app, EVgo app, Blink, some weird new one I saw like a few weeks ago, which name I can't remember. So that'll be nice. And I think some of those will also support plug-in charge. I drove it in Japan. I drove a prototype, which they made sure that I say that every time I talk about it. It was camouflaged. We had just seen the car in the design studio, the interior and the exterior, and then we went to Grand Drive, like their testing facility, and they're like, the car was camouflaged, and then the interior was also draped. You know how they put these drapes in the car, so you can't see anything. You can't see the infotainment system. All you can see really is where you're sitting and the instrument cluster. That's it. That's it. I drove it. And again, this is only a few laps around a track, prototype vehicle, so much better. Just so like the acceleration curve is better, the braking was better, the handling, everything felt better. Of course, it was also a prototype, so they might like tweak it down or whatever. But they're doing the steering setup for the U.S. market for everywhere. So I think they kind of know what they want to make sure this does really well here in the U.S. They also have a 3-in-1 system for their motor and the reducer and the introverter. You don't know much about him because it just sits in the corner and doesn't say anything. The inverter. They're pushing for efficiency. They're still quite not as efficient as say like Hyundai is right now. But they're getting better. I think it's Hyundai's a pretty, that's a target a lot of people need to start to be aiming for when it comes to efficiency, Hyundai and Lucid. I really enjoyed it. We're going to be able to drive it in September, like the proper car on proper roads. Again, I drove it on a track. The track had a bunch of like little weird scenarios, like, oh, the road's kind of rough. And I'm like, oh, now you're driving through town. Like, oh, here's a little mountain road. And it's fun because you're like, I'm driving on a track in Japan. But overall, no, I think really the biggest question mark is price. The Leaf has always been like a kind of a deal, kind of, compared to other
especially
vehicles.
Recently they've been, trying to get rid of the last of the current generation. And so they in places like Colorado where they've also got big state incentives. They've been doing lease deals for like $10 or $20 a month for a Leaf.
So and again, it's not that the second generation Leaf is bad. It's just boring. It's just, you just don't care.
That was it. It was just so lackluster. There was nothing remarkable about it.
Okay, it's doing the thing. And this was the number one selling EV for a long time.
Up until the Model 3 came out.
Yeah.
Until 2017, the Leaf was the best selling EV in the world.
15 years. 15 years it's been on the market. I think it beat the Model S to market.
Yeah, because it came out and the first ones were delivered in like November, December of 2010.
Yeah, so it's a long history of this vehicle. but I think now it feels like a proper competitor to everything else on the market. Again, the price is hopefully they won't price themselves out of that. But
I mean, when the Leaf first came out, it was, kind of the first mainstream EV. The initial MSRP was like, base price was like under $33,000, and with the $7,500 tax credit, then you're looking at 25 grand. It only had like 73, 74 miles of range, but it was a real car that for if you needed a short range daily commuter, it worked, and it was reasonably affordable, and it got a little better over the years. The current generation with the bigger battery does a little over 200 miles of range, but the rest of the industry just leaped ahead of it, and like you said, it was and is boring. This one is a lot nicer to look at. It looks like it'll have a much nicer interior.
It's comfortable.
You'll have 50% more range. 300 miles of range. It should be much more competitive, but again, comes down to tariff pricing, because the current generation Leaf has always been built in Tennessee at the Smyrna assembly plant. This is going to be coming. I'm not sure if it's coming from Japan or from.
It's coming from Japan.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I checked today. It's coming from Japan. It's built at the same line as the Aria, because they're both on the same CMF EV platform.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. So Tochigi, that's where it's being built in Japan. Okay. So you had the tariff issues that kind of.
Yeah, so that's going to
big question mark for absolutely everybody. And again, when it's like everyone should build everything in the United States, I'm like, you can't snap your fingers and make that happen. That's like a 3 to 5 year like investment.
Yeah.
To change, to build, to retool, to create supply chains.
Or 2 years if you're GM, but we'll get to that.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Well. All right. Anything else you want to discuss about the Leaf right now?
No, I'm excited about it.
Oh, the plural of Leaf is leafs. It's not leaves. Okay. I asked.
Yeah.
Because Leaf is actually a acronym for, I forget what it is.
Okay. There's another embargo, which is why this episode is not coming out till Tuesday morning. The Leaf embargo is at 8 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. At 10 a.m. Is the embargo for the 2026 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1X.
All the embargoes.
Yeah. So the ZR1X is not, well, it is the car that has been widely rumored to be called Zora, for Zora Arkus Duntov, who was the first chief engineer for the Corvette. Arkus Duntov was the guy who convinced GM to put a V8 in the original first generation Corvette, because when it came out, it had this kind of lame 6-cylinder engine in it with a 2-speed automatic transmission. Duntov convinced them to put in the small block and changed history, at least for Corvette anyway. And so this is, at this point, the ultimate Corvette. Like I said, there's been a lot of speculation this would be named after Zora, but it's ZR1X. And what it is the ZR1 that we've talked about previously, with the addition of the hybrid system that's in the E-Ray. So now you got 5 different variations of Corvette, from Stingray, E-Ray, Z06, ZR1, and ZR1X. So this has 1,250 horsepower.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. And 0 to 60, less than 2 seconds. Quarter mile, less than 9 seconds.
I'm looking at some of these numbers in here too. In addition to that, Chevy says it can pull 1.3 G's of acceleration in a straight line.
Yes.
So to put that hurts people.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I have friends that I've had Teslas where I did ludicrous mode, and they're like, "Don't ever do that to me again," because it makes everything in your body hurt. Like it feels weird, and it adjusts the size of your eye. And so there's potential for people to like pass out.
Yeah.
When you're going this quickly.
And it will also do 1G simultaneously longitudinal and lateral.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So yeah, it's pretty bonkers.
Well, you should explain what 1G is.
So that is the rate of acceleration, the rate of change of direction or change of velocity, and it's equivalent. It's 32 feet per second acceleration, which is the same as the force that Earth is pulling you down to the ground.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And what else? So yeah, you got the hybrid system. It has the same battery and a slightly upgraded version of the motor, but the same battery that is in the E-Ray, so 1.9 kilowatt hours. But what they've done is usually on hybrids, they only use about 50% of the battery capacity. So it usually cycles between about 30 to 80%. And they said they're now using 26% more of the battery capacity, which allowed them to get more energy out of the thing. So they've bumped up the power output from the electric motor from 160 to 184 horsepower and bumped up the torque as well. And so, because you've now got that instant torque on the front wheels when you accelerate, it leaps off the line even faster. That's how you get that sub 2 second acceleration to 60 miles an hour. And then, it's doing that as the engine is building up its power and torque, and then it just takes off from there. Same 233 mile an hour top speed as the ZR1. It's the same body work as the ZR1. So when you look at it, except for the X on the badge, it looks exactly the same as the ZR1, at least from the stuff you can see. The one thing that is different is they did change the underbody. So they recontoured the underbody because it's generating downforce from the underbody of the car, and it with the aero package, it will generate 1,200 pounds of downforce, pushing the car down to the ground.
Good gravy.
What they've done is, because this is an all-wheel drive car now instead of just front-wheel drive, they moved the center of pressure. So they changed the balance of the downforce to move it a little bit further forward. So you get more downforce on the front wheels now, in addition to the rear wheels. So, this thing is just...
you can turn. It's just so people know. You want downforce so you can turn.
Yeah, turn and accelerate at 1G.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to pull 1G laterally and accelerate at 1G at the same time. So let's put it this way. The Z06 GT3R race car that they run in the World Endurance Championship, like at Le Mans this weekend, finished third in class at Le Mans, and in the IMSA WeatherTech series, that car only has about 600 horsepower. That race car. This has 1,250 horsepower.
Wow.
Of course, the race car weighs about 2,700 pounds versus 41 for this one, but details. They're not talking about pricing yet. It'll be on sale this fall. The ZR1 Coupe starts at about $178,000, and the E-Ray is like about a $15,000 price premium over a Stingray, a comparably equipped Stingray. So if we assume it's going to be about the same premium, it's probably going to be somewhere close to $200,000 for a ZR1X. But when you compare the performance of this, to say a McLaren Artura or a Ferrari 299 or any number of other cars, those cars all cost a minimum of $250,000 and up to upwards of $400,000. So it's still a bargain, even at $200,000.
$200,000 though. Wow.
And you can get it in Roswell green.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. Never mind. It's kind of a deal.
Jeez Louise. I mean, it's very cool. If I had $200,000 to just, set on fire, that would be a fun way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've driven the E-Ray. I haven't driven the ZR1 yet. The problem with all of these cars is you can't really use what it's capable of on the street. You have to take it to a track to get the most out of it.
The McLaren drive programs typically have you drive in the middle of nowhere and then they take you to a track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you can't like drive in the middle of nowhere. Like, okay, this is fine, but you have to go on a track to actually drive the McLaren.
Yeah. And that's what they did with the ZR1 drive. They went to COTA in Austin a couple of months ago, or a month or so ago. So, this is insane levels of performance. And this is, what one thing they did say during the backgrounder last week is there will not be an electric Corvette anytime soon. So this is going to be the ultimate, probably the ultimate version of Corvette for this generation, for the C8 generation. It'll probably be C9 before we see anything with higher levels of performance than the ZR1X.
Mm-hmm.
But they did, from the beginning when they were working on the C8, in the latter half of the 2010s, before they launched it, this was part of the plan from the beginning, having the Stingray and the ZR1X as the bookends to the lineup. So this is the top of the line.
Simply the best.
And it also has the new interior for 2026 which gets rid of the wall of buttons.
Doesn't have the wall. So
Yeah.
that's good.
No more
Because
wall
if you're in there and let's say the the passenger, and let's just say the seatbelt doesn't catch while you're taking a right turn, smack right into the wall.
Yeah.
Like you're a hockey player, like you've been checked.
All right. Let's stick with GM for a second before we move on. GM also made an announcement last week that they are going to spend $4 billion to shift vehicle production from Mexico to the U.S. They're investing $4 billion in 3 assembly plants. They're putting money into Spring Hill, Tennessee, to build the next generation gas engine Blazer. The Blazer EV and the Equinox and the Optic and Vista and something else are staying in Ramos. Yeah, all the EV, all those EVs are staying in Ramos. But the Spring Hill plant that builds the Lyric and the Vistic and the XT5 is also going to build the next gen Blazer, gas Blazer. And then they are moving the gas Equinox from Mexico to the Fairfax, Kansas assembly plant, they also confirmed that Fairfax is going to start building the new generation Bolt in fourth quarter of this year. So that is still on track for production this year. And then the gas Equinox is moving there in 2027, and the Blazer is also moving in 27. And then also in 2027, the Orion, Michigan assembly plant, which they had previously planned to use to build electric trucks, but given that they're not selling very many of those, they don't really need to tool up another plant. So the Detroit Hamtramck plant will remain as the exclusive source for the electric Silverado and Sierra and Hummer and Escalade IQ. And Orion is going to build gas Silverados and Sierras and add more capacity for full-size SUVs like the Tahoe and Yukon and Suburban and Escalade. So
it's a little shuffle up and deal to try to stay with moment.
So it's probably going to be, somewhere around 500,000 units of production that is shifting from Mexico to U.S. assembly plants where they have capacity. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that goes in line with the announcement they made the previous week about putting $800 million into the Tonawanda, New York engine plant to build the next generation of small block V8s, because those were originally planned to be built in Mexico and Canada. They're going to build those in Tonawanda now so that they can put them into more of those U.S. built trucks and SUVs.
Big changes.
Yeah. And it's primarily because of tariffs.
Yeah. So not really surprising. Yeah.
No. All right. Oh, speaking of expensive cars,
Oh,
The Mustang GTD. Somebody got, I guess, one of the first customers took delivery of their Mustang GTD recently, and they posted the Monroney online. This thing is insanely expensive. The MSRP for this Mustang, this is, kind of loosely based on the Mustang GT3 race car, $318,760. Which kind of makes a $200,000 Corvette seem cheap, doesn't it?
Wait, look at the destination. I know we're talking about the car, but look at the destination. Guys, look at the number. $5,500 destination and delivery.
Why do they need $5,500?
It costs a lot of money to ship a car from near Toronto, to anywhere in the U.S.
That destination thing. All the whole bit. That's just some.
Yeah. In this case, Mike, I'm assuming that they are shipping these, one at a time in special enclosed carriers. These are not going on regular car carriers from the Multimatic factory.
Right.
Whatever. I've had Ferraris delivered to me. It didn't cost Ferrari how much is this again? $5,000 to ship me a Ferrari in its own little car.
It does look really, really, really cool.
So it's really $328,000 before you add any options to it.
And this one has an exposed carbon fiber roof for $10K.
Yep.
$1,500 for red brake calipers. Blah, blah, blah. It also has a $3,700 gas guzzler tax.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. It's not it's kind of thirsty.
Because it's so sporty, I mean, as it should be, when you just read the Monroney, it's so funny the number of words that, there's so few real words. Everything's abbreviated or fancy. They've tried to put every last little fancy thing in there.
Akrapovic titanium exhaust.
Akrapovic titanium exhaust.
It's like a Marvel movie. We're just making up things now.
Right? You look down some of this, you're like, what the what now? That was the one that got me. Akrapovic. I don't even know what that means.
It's from the it's what Wolverine's made out of. Out of Akrapovic titanium.
Wait, I'm looking it up. What's an Akrapovic exhaust? Manufacture premium exhaust system for motorcycles and performance cars. It actually has a little funky thing over the C, I don't know, different languages.
Yeah.
It's not English, so it has a funky little thing. What is Akrapovic? It's Slovenian, according to my Googling.
Wow. So
yeah,
from Slovenia. Yeah,
that's where I was born.
Hey,
there you go. So you should. Yeah,
why aren't you talking about this? What is this?
It should be you talking.
So they set a Nürburgring Nordschleife time with this thing of 6 minutes and 52 seconds, which is the first American production car to ever lap the ring in under 7 minutes.
That's quite the thing.
USA. This is something
but I'm sure that
be proud about.
They're preparing to do their ring runs with the ZR1X, and I suspect it's going to be quicker.
Be quicker.
Yeah.
I love that the fuel economy, and when you look at fuel economy on this kind of stuff, you're like, why? Don't show it.
If you're spending upwards of $320,000 on the car,
so it gets 10 cities, 17 highway for a 12 combined, which of course, what you're saying absolutely doesn't matter in the least. Still, you look at it, you're like, oh gosh, just to see it on the big bold paper, on the Monroney 42-point font, whatever it is. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that nonsense.
USA.
Yeah. So recently there have been a couple of consumer surveys done about EVs. One was done by AAA, and one was commissioned by BMW. And they had surprisingly different results. In the AAA survey, what they found, and AAA has been doing this survey for 4 years now. In 2022, 25% of American respondents, said that they are likely or very likely to buy an EV, and another 24% said neither likely nor unlikely, so they're undecided. And then 51% said unlikely. In 2025, the same question asked, only 16% said they were likely or very likely to buy an EV. 63% said likely, unlikely, or very unlikely. So the number, according to AAA, is getting considerably worse. On the other hand, BMW's survey had a little bit different results.
Where's BMW's?
Let's see.
AAA's is way easier to read, which kind of feels on brand.
BMW doesn't actually show you the charts. They just have a whole lot of text. But let's see. Where is it here? So as the perception of EVs as a niche is fading, in 2025, 62% of Americans consider EV buyers first early adopters, dropping from, I think that's a typo, it should be 75% in 2023. Where's the big number here? 55% of consumers expect to purchase an EV in the future, compared to 16% from the AAA study.
Both of them did so AAA did 1,128 people. BMW did 1,007 people. So they both only got 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, because this like these surveys, I'll get these sometimes, and then they'll ask you like random. I'll usually just I'll get out of it by saying I'm a journalist. But the AAA one, I feel like they're like, hey, we're AAA. And then the other one's like, hey, we're just random people who are going to ask you some questions. So I wonder how mythology is always like really weird, especially 1,000. I really feel like you got to just get up to 10,000.
Yeah.
All right. 5,000.
Well, I mean, from statistics, what they've found is that once you get past about 1,000, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I mean, there's a certain percentage of the overall population, but generally about 1,000 is statistically significant, and beyond that, it tends to not change very much. But there were some other interesting details in the BMW survey. 40% still cite cost as a main reason they haven't purchased one. 58% of Americans were open to hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. Now, if only there were any hydrogen fueling stations open to the public.
Well, they're open, not the stations.
Yeah. But one of the, let's see, where is it here? One of the interesting details was about the mileage expectations. Let's see, where is it? 75% of respondents said that 75 miles of daily range was sufficient, and 50 miles, 29% said 50 miles was sufficient.
I don't feel like people believe that. I don't believe that. I think that is, but I don't think people think that.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true that amount of range is adequate for most people's driving.
But people don't think. Where is it? Who had that one? Was that BMW?
That's in the BMW one under evolving range expectations.
I don't think that seems weird.
I mean, if that is true, if people are really starting to recognize that, I can get by with less range, then that is if that's true, then it's actually a really good sign that people are recognizing, I don't actually need that much range. I don't need 500 miles or 400 miles of range. And that means that they would be more willing to buy EVs that have less range, but are more affordable.
Hold on. What's 23?
That seems, I mean, I think that's an attitude I would love to think is correct, but who exactly did they talk to? It doesn't reflect what people's general sentiment seems to be.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like we need to do our own survey because both of these are very weird.
Yeah. This was 1,007 adults, 18 years of age and older. And it's an online omnibus study conducted from May 7th to 9th, 2025.
Okay.
AAA stuff is also, I love AAA. As a service, but their stuff is usually a little weird. Like I remember I did an article for Car and Driver, and we were trying to figure out like the yearly cost of a vehicle, and AAA was like, yeah, the yearly cost of maintenance on a EV is like $3,000. I was like, well, what?
How?
Okay. And then I'm like, all right. So I put it in the article, but it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are they getting this number?
Yeah, where does that come from?
I think, I think the reality is probably somewhere in between these two studies.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as negative as AAA made it out to be.
Do you think it's gotten better? What do you think?
I think there's a lot of political reasons.
Yeah.
There's political reasons for some people being like, I'm not going to buy an EV for political reasons. That's it.
Yeah.
There's just
But I think there were always some politics
why.
involved in EVs. I think like forever, some people are like, I'm not going to be.
It doesn't make any sense. And so, yeah, there's no logic to that reasoning, but that's the reality. Is that like there are people who are like, well, I'm not because blah, 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 blah. And then there's people who are like, well, the fire thing seems to have gone away. Fewer and fewer people ask me about fires. But I don't think there's been a very good, people aren't understanding that NACS, opening, everything moving to NACS means more charging. So people don't quite, it's, and it's one of those things I'm trying to like deal with at SAE. Not deal with, but help solve, is just sort of putting information out there. I'm like, this is what's really happening. This is how it's going to happen. Is it perfect? Nope, it's not perfect. But neither is the fact that we put gas in cars, and gas has to be mined and transported and then put to a place, and
right.
all the things people kind of forget about. Yeah, it's. I think there's a lot of reasons why these the people are sort of anti-EV. I have family who are anti-EV for zero reasons other than it's because it's a political. It's only political. It's literally a political reason.
So it was interesting when I bought the Wagoneer S. People's reactions that knew there was an EV were either like, "Oh, that's so cool, you got an EV," or they literally were like, "Why would you buy an EV? EVs are terrible," and this and that. Like, it is a very polarizing thing, and I think I didn't realize it until people know what car I got. Like, it was, no one's just like, "Oh, okay, cool, that's nice, whatever." They're like, "Amazing," or "How could you?" Like, what do you mean, how could I? Like, it was very weird.
It's very weird, and then it's yeah, I think, and it's less, if it becomes more mainstream, like in the Bay Area, like you got an EV, no one cares, because like we have a pretty high.
You have so many, right?
We have so many. Everyone just has one now. It's just like, what'd you get? Oh, I got an EV. Oh, which one? Oh, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, not the case here.
Like in my hometown, it would be like I show up in my Ioniq 5, and there are people who are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's my electric car." Like, how were you able to get here? And I'm like,
the magic.
I'm like, what do you mean? How is it?
There's a little wizard in the back.
There's a little wizard in the back. His name is Tom.
Yeah, Tom the Wizard runs my EV. He does a fabulous job.
He does so many nice things. Yeah.
So speaking of California and EVs, back during the first Trump administration, he tried to revoke California's EPA or waiver. California, under the Clean Air Act, California is allowed to get waivers to set some of its own standards for pollution standards and emissions and things like that. And so California, since the 1970s, has had its own separate set of emission standards from the federal standards that were, tighter than federal standards. Although in the 2010s, late 2000s and 2010s, they've actually tried to align those between the federal standards and the California standards. But California also had a waiver that allowed it to mandate EVs and EV only sales by 2035. And during the first Trump administration, he tried
EV only new sales. Like you can still buy a used car.
Yeah, you can still buy used combustion engines.
I got so many people yelling at me. I won't be able to buy. I'm like, there's so many used gas cars.
And there's actually even with that, they're still allowed to sell plug-in hybrids. It's only 20%,
yes.
but you could still sell plug-in hybrids. So anyway, he tried to revoke it during the first administration, and California sued, and he tried to just do it by fiat, did an executive order saying I'm revoking this waiver. So California sued, and by the time before it got to court, the 2020 election had happened and Trump was out of office, and so the Biden administration dropped that and let California move forward. Now what they've done is this time around, Congress actually passed a resolution repealing the California waivers, and Donald Trump signed it last week. So I'm sure this is still going to go to court, and there's going to be battles over this for some time. But interestingly, even though their California's waiver that allowed them to set to mandate EVs by 2035 is revoked, at least through 2030, Stellantis still has to follow those mandates, because
dun, dun, dun.
Last year, Carlos Tavares, when he was still CEO of Stellantis, declared that Stellantis was no longer going to pay any fines for noncompliance, and they weren't going to buy ZEV credits from companies like Tesla. And to do that, they were going to make a bunch of changes to their product lineup, introduce a bunch of EVs, and do things like drop the Hemi from the Ram, which now that Tavares is no longer CEO, some of those things are being reversed. But it looks like Stellantis is still going to have to sell a bunch of EVs, because I think right now the threshold is at like 28% of sales have to be EVs, and by 2030 it's like 40 something percent.
This is 68% by 2030, the final year of this.
Yeah, you're right.
By which is the last year of the settlement agreement. So I guess after 2030 they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah. So Stellantis, was, for more than a decade, if you ever look at the EPA fuel economy trends report that gets published every October, it has the data, for CAFE compliance, and has all the numbers, for corporate average fuel economy that each manufacturer gets. Stellantis has always been way down at the bottom of the list, far and away the worst fuel economy of any manufacturer. And, they were, running afoul of the standards for California and the EV mandates. And so they did a settlement with California. It said, California said, we're not going to make you pay the fines for past noncompliance, but you have to comply going forward through at least 2030. And part of that agreement was Stellantis agreed that they would be compliant with the ZEV mandates, regardless of what happens with federal regulations. So even though the federal government has repealed that waiver, Stellantis still has to sell EVs in California.
That's really, they do have to honor to make sense. It wasn't they were giving, it was for past infractions, but how are they ever going to do that? They're like not even.
They'll just put a Hemi and everything. No, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna sell a lot of Wagoneer S's and
apparently
Jeep
they have to
Recons
now?
and Charger Daytonas.
They there's some new video they put out, and so I was like, I wonder what the comments are, and the comments are all like super hardcore Ram people, and they're like, the Hemi's back, and I was just like, oh, people. I don't think you know what, branding, they got some good branding on that engine. They brought the Hemi back. I'm like, I don't think you understand. All right, it's fine.
Yeah, everyone was very excited. You're like, well, actually,
you know what? Fine. You know what? Whatever.
Just let it go. Let them have their moment.
Let them have your moment. Yeah. Well, they still have, again, 2035 is, let me check my calendar.
10 years.
10 years away.
But they got to be selling 68% EVs in 2030. In California.
That's 5 years. Oh my gosh. That's not that long for them.
Yeah. Well, for other places, I'm like, if it was like Hyundai and they're like, you got to be selling, I'm like, yeah, they can probably do that.
Fine, whatever.
And they'd be like, yeah, we can do that. Maybe Ford, if they figured out what they're doing with stuff. Probably GM. But Stellantis,
it doesn't like the least likely of all of them.
Yeah, it feels like Stellantis is like, we're gonna put a Hemi and everything. You have to make an electric car. We're gonna call her. They just call the motor Hemi. That's it. Just say it.
Yeah, one Hemi motor at each axle.
Yes. Just call it a Hemi. Everyone will be
just
fine.
Put a big Hemi badge on the electric motor.
Yeah, put sound inside the car. Don't tell them. Just don't even tell them when they go to the
Just
gas.
reprogram the Fratsonic exhaust so it actually sounds like a Hemi.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like whatever it's supposed to sound like now. A swarm of bees attacking a goat. I don't know.
Tell us what you really think, Robbie.
It's just some of these things.
Swarm of bees attacking a goat.
Swarm of bees attacking a goat. Well, good luck, Stellantis.
Good luck, Stellantis. Good luck, you.
I like the Fiat 500e. I like that little car. I don't like how much it cost.
It's too expensive for what it is.
It's way too
$5,000 too expensive.
But if you can get one of those crazy lease deals like they were doing in Colorado, you can basically get it for free.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't. Yeah, I can't put.
Which is a great way for a company to make money. I mean, that's a solid strategy.
Yeah, you could do it. I believe in you, Stellantis.
I believe in you too. Come on, you can do it. Little engine that could. Little Hemi that could.
You can do it, sort of.
Some of the other things that Trump tried to do in his first term was roll back the corporate average fuel economy standards and the CO2 emission standards. But again, during the first term, they tried to do it through the normal rulemaking process, which there's a whole process around that where you've got to do all these studies and publish reports and everything on what the cost benefit analysis of making these rule changes. And, they did a bad job of that, and they never got it done and never got it through. And so
it was a mess. I remember writing about it. You talk to the automakers, like, what are you doing? The automakers like, that's too much. What's going on?
Yeah.
You're making
What's
things
happening?
hard.
What's happening?
You're making this worse for us.
So they never got it changed. But now, as part of the big budget bill that is going on, one of the things that the House of Representatives put in there is they basically repealed all of the fuel economy and emission standards beyond model year 2023. So they're basically, they're doing this through a legislative process instead of the rulemaking process. And so they're going to freeze CO2 emissions and fuel economy standards at 2023 levels. And, if this passes, the manufacturers won't have to update anything until 2032. So from everything from model year 2024 to 2032, gone. And, if they do that, they're going to end up being even further behind the rest of the world.
Well, you can't sell those cars anywhere else. That's the other crazy thing. Like I try to explain to people, I'm like, if you're building a car, you want to especially if you want to sell other regions, you kind of want to make sure everything sort of works everywhere. That way you don't have to have so many, different parts for different places. I mean, you're lucky if you're selling really well in the United States because it's a big market. But if you're selling everywhere else, you're like, okay, now we're on two different tracks. We have the track where we don't do anything, and we have the other track where we have to deal with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world wants to be able to breathe. Those weirdos. So we.
Won't they just do it the same for everybody? I mean, I think they just then say, well, we got to do it for everybody. Like, it'd be easier to do the one than try to have two.
That would be,
ask Stellantis about that.
That would probably be the better solution.
Would that make financial sense? It seems like that might make sense.
Oh yeah, that would make financial sense. But who knows what they're going to do? I mean, it certainly seems like, GM is intent on selling as many V8 trucks and SUVs as they possibly can for the next several years.
Yeah, they're going to pump out those things as much as possible because those things are just giant money machines.
They just make so much money.
Yeah. And they outside of a few automakers, most people can't figure out how to make EVs profitable because they sort of stop, start. It's like if you have a store in your town and it's new and it has posted hours, but then sometimes instead of closing at 8, they close at 4. But then it's close at 8. Then maybe they close at 4. Then sometimes they close at 3. You're kind of not go to that store anymore.
Okay, literally, that's you don't know what's example ever. We had a new store and they had posted hours, and I tried to go there 3 times, and they were not open when they were supposed to be. I'm like, guys, I give you 3 shots to get there, and you can't just keep no.
Yeah, and when you're an automaker, it does that. Like when we're doing EVs. No, we're not. We're doing EVs. Okay, no, we're going to raise the price. We're going to lower the price. If you're sort of erratic, like consumers are like, I feel like a lot of automakers are just handing the Hyundai Motor Group, long-term sales.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which sucks really because more car companies means more, what's that word?
Competition.
That's the word. Competition.
Innovation. That kind of stuff.
All that fun stuff.
All the big long words that are important.
All the things that make your car better. I hope.
Hopefully,
you would hope.
That's
the
that's
idea.
that's the kind of the principle behind competition.
Yeah.
That it is.
And a
That
free
it is.
market. And then there was something else that came to my attention from that budget bill, and I talked about this. Actually, I should mention I also have another podcast that I started doing recently for work for my company for telemetry called the Telemetry Transportation Daily. It's a 2-minute little hit. I pick something every day, talk about it for 2 minutes. So it's kind of like the opposite of this show.
That's what happens when you get rid of Nicole and Robbie. This podcast
it's just 2 minutes.
The other thing is, this show is completely unscripted. I mean, other than having a list of things that we're going to talk about, for the Telemetry Transportation Daily, that one I actually have to write myself a script and say, this is what I'm going to say, and I read that script. And that's how I do it in 2 minutes, because otherwise there's no way. If I was just rambling off the top of my head like I do here, then it would go on forever. Anyway, the other thing I talked about on today's episode was in the budget bill, they put in a prohibition on states doing any regulation of AI for 10 years. And the actual language is,
what?
Exactly.
States for 10 years from the date of enactment of this bill, states are not allowed to regulate AI models, AI systems, or automated decision systems.
Because we've all used AI and it's all perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've heard, on a bunch of other shows, people talking about the effects of this, for AI. But one thing that nobody's mentioned is, an automated decision system. An autonomous vehicle is nothing more than an automated decision
That's
system.
all it is.
It's
reading
the sensor signals and is making decisions about when to accelerate and brake and steer. It's an automated decision system. So effectively what this will do is it will prohibit states from doing any regulation of AVs of AV performance for 10 years.
Which is terrifying, because you know who lives on these roads? You, me, kids, old people. Well, me and people.
And you know who else is not going to regulate this, at least for the next 4 years?
Federal government.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Which was barely doing its job to begin with.
No, they were not doing their job at all.
Okay, they
haven't done anything for a decade.
Yeah, they're just sort of hang out.
Yeah.
I went to a Department of Transportation, National Transportation Safety Board thing once in DC. Woo wee! I have not seen that much fire thrown at NHTSA, but they was just ripping them apart. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah,
this is like one of those reality shows that I don't watch where people are just talking,
yelling at each other.
NHTSA wasn't there, but I wish they'd had been, because
they just sat there.
Everyone else who was there was reporters were like, yep. Writing down our little notebooks. Yep.
Yeah. So if this passes as is, if this AI regulation ban passes, we're not going to have any regulation on AVs for a long time, which is unfortunate. All right, that is it for this
on
week.
that downer.
And good news, everyone! Look what the husband brought home.
Yeah, you got your phone.
I have my phone again.
Yay.
I'm so excited.
Oh, let's all text her. Come on, let's all text.
Everybody send me a text right now. I'm so happy to have a phone again.
Her phone number is.
Yeah, I'll kill you, Robbie.
My phone number got posted on Gizmodo once. I worked at Gizmodo for a hot second, and my friend worked there as well. And we would text. I don't know why we were texting each other. So he wrote an article about an iPhone thing that was about texting, and I guess the last text he had gotten was from me, and so he had forgotten to to blur out my phone number.
Oh, did a screenshot.
Did you get a million junk things?
And suddenly I started getting text messages within like seconds of it going live. And they're like, oh, is this a real number? I'm like, oh my God. So I had to like call him. I'm like, can you please blur that? He's like, yeah. And it fortunately, it was like blurred out within a few minutes, but within that few minutes, it was, yeah.
That would be not good.
I was just like, oh.
Yikes.
Anyway.
Yikes.
All right. On that note, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.